Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into something really crucial for SMB tech leaders heading into 2025. That's asset management and cybersecurity.
Absolutely. SMBs are facing, well, a tough situation. More cyber threats, but often fewer resources to fight them.
And the stats are quite stark. Get this. 76% apparently dealt with a ransomware attack just last year.
76%. That's huge.
So our mission today is to pull out the key insights, the actionable steps SMB leaders like you can actually use. We want to focus on efficiency, getting the most impact, especially when resources are tight.
And we're drawing on recent reports looking at SMB security, best practices for asset management, and even how tools like Microsoft fit in.
Right, let's dig in. Why is this so fundamental for SMB tech and cyber leaders?
Well, think about it. Asset management is really the foundation. It sounds basic, but you genuinely cannot secure what you don't know exists.
That makes sense.
And if you don't have a good handle on your assets, it causes ripples. Higher costs from, say, lost laptops or buying software you already own, operational hiccups, downtime, slow responses when things go wrong.
And the security side.
Big security risks. Outdated software nobody's patching, devices connecting that you don't monitor, maybe users with way too much access. Compliance failures, too. It's like trying to guard a house without knowing all the doors and windows.
And the threats themselves aren't standing still, are they? We're seeing AI being used in attacks, ransomware is relentless, supply chain vulnerabilities.
Precisely. And it often starts simple. Over 90% of successful attacks still trace back to a phishing email. Someone clicks a bad link.
For an SMB, that can be devastating. They're sometimes seen as low-hanging fruit because they might not have huge security teams.
And the cost of a breach, it averages around $25,000 for smaller businesses. But honestly, for some, it could mean shutting down entirely.
There seems to be a bit of a disconnect, though. Reports suggest, 59% see the need to improve security?
But only 49% actually plan to increase their budget for it. It often comes down to cost constraints.
So how do we bridge that?
It requires reframing it. This isn't just an IT line item. It's fundamental to business continuity. It's about survival, really.
Okay, let's pivot to solutions. What can SMBs do? Starting with that foundation. Comprehensive IT asset management, or ITAM, what does that look like in practice?
ITAM, at its core, means having crystal clear visibility over all your technology assets. Your hardware, software licenses, cloud instances, everything.
And that visibility directly enables security.
Directly. How can you patch a vulnerable server if it's not on your list? How do you lock down an application you didn't know was running?
What about just using spreadsheets? Many SMBs start there.
Relying purely on manual tracking like spreadsheets is really risky today. It leads to costly mistakes. Information gets siloed in different departments. Ultimately, your whole IT infrastructure is more vulnerable. It introduces security risks because things inevitably get missed.
So automation is the way forward.
Definitely. For SMBs especially, automated asset discovery tools are key. They continuously scan your networks, your cloud setups, finding everything. Approved devices, unapproved ones that might have connected, what software is installed, what services are running, granular detail.
And it's not just about finding assets, right? It's the whole life cycle.
Exactly. From procurement, buying the asset, all the way through to making sure it's disposed of securely so data doesn't leak.
What about cloud assets, say in Azure?
Microsoft has tools for that. Azure Resource Graph, for instance, helps inventory your Azure resources. And Azure Arc is interesting because it lets you extend that management to servers or Kubernetes clusters that might be on-premises or even in other clouds. It creates a single view.
Are there specific ITAM tools you'd recommend that are, friendly to SMB budgets?
Yeah, there are several good options. Heroku uses AI and automation, real-time tracking. Zoll Inventory is known for being user-friendly, good for physical stock, too. Fishbowl is quite robust. Sortly is flexible, has a mobile app which is handy. And Inflow Inventory actually has a free version for businesses starting out.
So options exist, it's about finding the right fit.
And prioritizing that automation to reduce the manual burden and errors.
Okay, asset visibility is sorted. The next big pillar seems to be identity, securing who can access what. You mentioned zero trust.
Zero trust is becoming essential. The mindset is simple. Never trust, always verify. Don't assume access should be granted just because someone is inside your network.
And the cornerstone of that for SMBs.
Multi-factor authentication. MFA. It's probably the single most effective control you can implement.
Yeah.
Seriously, enabling MFA can block over 90% of those credential-stealing phishing attacks. It should be mandatory for everyone, but especially for administrators.
Beyond MFA, what about managing identities more broadly?
Investing in proper identity and access management, IAM, is critical. Something like Microsoft Entra ID formerly Azure AD. It's central to managing users, groups, and their access.
How does Entra ID specifically help enforce zero trust?
Through a feature called conditional access. Think of it as a policy engine. Before granting access, it looks at signals. Who is the user? Is their device secure? Where are they logging in from? What app are they trying to access? Is there any real-time risk detected?
Sounds powerful. How does an SMB actually implement conditional access?
First, you need the right licenses, typically Entra ID Premium P2. Then, assign the admin roles carefully. It's smart to review the existing risk reports in Entra ID, risky users, risky sign-ins to get a baseline.
And you need to tell people, right?
Oh, absolutely. Communicate the changes clearly to users so they know what to expect, especially with MFA prompts. Also crucial, set up break-glass emergency access accounts, just in case policies lock out legitimate admins.
Any other setup tips?
Consider if you need exclusions for specific service accounts, or maybe some older systems. The goal is comprehensive coverage, but sometimes exceptions are needed initially. A core policy should be requiring MFA for all users accessing all cloud apps. You can define named locations for trusted IP addresses, like your office network.
And testing is important.
Very. Deploy new policies in report-only mode first. This lets you see the impact without actually blocking anyone. Lets you fine-tune before flipping the switch.
Okay, so we know our assets were controlling access. How do we handle threats that might still emerge? The proactive side.
This is where vulnerability management and threat detection come in. It needs to be a continuous cycle. Discover assets, scan them for vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, prioritize which ones to fix first based on risk, and then remediate. And ideally, automate as much of this as possible. No, continuous. Your environment changes constantly. New devices, new software, new threats. You need ongoing checks. And prioritize ruthlessly. Focus on the riskiest vulnerabilities on your most critical assets. Use threat intelligence, maybe even machine learning if your tools support it, to help decide what's truly urgent.
Shifting from reactive to proactive.
Exactly. The goal is to prevent the breach in the first place. Timely patching, driven by that vulnerability data, is absolutely vital here, and automated patching helps immensely.
How does good ITAM help if an incident does happen?
A solid asset inventory is invaluable for incident response. When an alert pops up, you immediately know what the affected device is, who uses it, what software is on it, how critical it is. That context speeds everything up. So you see, ITAM, vulnerability management, often called VMDR, now adding detection and response, and incident response are all tightly interwoven.
Let's talk specifics. Cloud and endpoints. How do we secure those?
In the cloud, tools like Microsoft Defender for Cloud provide that unified view. It includes Cloud Security Posture Management, CSPM. CSPM constantly assesses your cloud configurations across Azure, even AWS or GCP if you're multi-cloud, looking for misconfigurations, vulnerabilities, maybe APIs left exposed.
Integrating security earlier, the shift left idea.
Right. CSPM helps with that, catching issues before they become major problems. Continuous posture management is key in dynamic cloud environments.
And for the laptops, the desktops, endpoints.
You need more than just traditional antivirus these days. Look at endpoint protection platforms, EPP, which focus on preventing known threats, and endpoint detection and response, EDR, solutions. Think Microsoft Defender for endpoint. EDR provides deeper visibility to detect sophisticated attacks like ransomware and help you respond.
So EPP is the wall, EDR is the guard watching the wall?
That's a good analogy. You really need both layers for comprehensive endpoint security.
We've covered a lot of tech and process. What about the people factor?
Ah, yes. The human element. Still often the weakest link, unfortunately. Simple lack of awareness can lead to misuse, clicking the wrong thing, creating security gaps.
Training, then.
Regular, engaging security awareness training is crucial. Phishing simulations, basic security hygiene, even explaining why asset management matters to them. And with supply chain attacks rising, SMBs need to look harder at their vendors' security too. Assess reduced costs from preventing breaches, definitely. Better operational efficiency because systems are known, managed, and stable. Higher productivity. Easier compliance audits. It enables secure growth and scaling. And honestly, better decision-making because you actually understand your technology landscape. The risk of not doing this is far greater than the investment.
So wrapping up, we've covered why knowing your assets and securing them is non-negotiable for SMBs, especially with limited resources and growing threats. We touched on ITAM, zero trust with MFA, proactive vulnerability management, securing cloud and endpoints, and building a security culture.
And the key takeaway is how interconnected it all is. Good ITAM makes your threat detection better. Strong identity controls reduce your attack surface. It's a holistic approach.
So, for everyone listening, considering the complex threats and maybe tight budgets, what's the single most impactful step you'll take this week to strengthen your organization's asset management and cybersecurity? Thank you for joining us for this deep dive into SMB cybersecurity. We hope you'll take these strategies and think about how they apply to your unique situation.